Would you like to be able to decode mistakes that you've made in the past and to eliminate them so that they never happen again? Well, if you do, you're going to want to hang around in this podcast. I'm going to be sharing with you 3 proven ways to help eliminate those mistakes from ever happening again. And if you stick around, I'm going to share with you a super powerful bonus that's going to enable you to work out where mistakes most likely to happen for your customers or the people that you work with, making you indispensable and the go-to person at work.
Welcome to the Nils Vesk Show, where every episode is designed to help you think faster, solve problems creatively, and generate breakthrough ideas to catapult your success.
G'day. Hey, thank you so much for joining us in this little session today. I wanted to just talk about mistakes, and why this is so important is I come across so many people, myself included, where a mistake will happen and we're just so under the pump that we forget about it, we try and fix it up and we get on to the next thing. But the biggest challenge I keep seeing over and over again with my clients is that mistakes keep popping up, and that is it's the same source of mistake. And I reckon we just can't afford to allow mistakes to keep popping up their ugly head. And so in this little session, we're going to delve into 3 ways where mistakes are most likely to happen, the sources that contribute to mistakes, and the conditions, and how we can eliminate them so that they ever happen again. So let's get stuck into it. And effectively, I found that there are 3, what we would say, main categories of mistakes. There are what we call a slip-up, a blackout, and a real mistake. So you might be going, well, what is a slip-up? Well, a good way to think about a slip-up is that it's kind of like the right process is being executed, but it's executed in the wrong order. A blackout is when a part of the process is forgotten, and a real mistake is when the wrong process itself is executed. So let's delve into them in a little bit more detail so it makes more sense. So let's say you're looking back over what might have been a horror week for you. Let's hope it doesn't happen, touch wood. And you might be going, God, we made that massive mistake. We did X, Y, and Z. So first thing that you want to do is think of those 3 different areas there again. So was it a slip up? So was it that the right process was being executed, but it got executed in the wrong order? That's kind of the first thing. Next is to think of maybe part of the process was forgotten, or was it perhaps something where the actual wrong process was executed? So to help make this clearer for you to understand, a slip-up might be the right process is executed incorrectly. Let's say, for example, I've just signed on a new client, and the first thing we're supposed to do is to send out a welcome package. And on that welcome package, it has a video, it has a gift, a number of our books that we've written, beautiful handwritten card, maybe some flowers in there. That's like step number 1. Step number 3 might be asking them for their deposit invoice, or it might be the first invoice or a contract or something like that. And what if we sent the contract or asking for this invoice to be paid first rather than in third position? That's a slip up. It's the right process but executed incorrectly. So that's kind of one way to think about it. When we think about a blackout, that might be, let's say, for example, I forget to send out the welcome pack, and we just go to step 2, which was putting them into our system. We start sending them emails around, here's our online program, or here's a schedule for our first meeting, and there's no introduction that goes out. So I've just kind of forgotten part of the process. That kind of makes sense. And the third one might be that the wrong process is executed. So for that one, you might think of it, let's say, for example, someone gets put, rather than being on the new onboarding client process, they get put on the outboarding process. That is someone that's going to be leaving. So they get accidentally sent an email saying, hey, it's been great working with you. We'd love to know, what were the best takeouts? Would you be willing to give us a referral or a testimonial? How can we keep in contact with you in the future? So that would be the wrong process that's executed rather than the correct process. So using that enables us to work out what type of mistake it actually is. Okay, is that making sense? Yeah, awesome. Please give us comments. I love it when people make sense around these different things now. Just to give you a little bit of background around this, you might be thinking, are you a mistake expert? No. But personally, I remember a number of years ago, I realized that I was getting caught up with so much growth and so much work going on that if I made a mistake, I'd sort of write it down, say, yeah, I've got to investigate it, but I just wasn't. And I would find that mistake might occur again, whether it was 2 or 3 months later. And it was starting to annoy me because I love delivering an amazing product or service for our customers. And so I made a decision. And the decision I made was that if a mistake was ever to happen, I would spend the time to identify the cause of it and make sure that mistake would never happen again. And when I made that decision and started to do research around mistakes, I looked and pored over every bit of content you can imagine, did every kind of course you could find, and came down to those 3 core parts around the 3 types of mistakes. So that's kind of why I'm sharing this stuff with you. I want to make sure that you don't make those mistakes. So they're the 3 types of mistakes. You might now be wondering, what are the sources of mistakes? Well, there are 3 types of sources. There are what we would call rule-based mistakes or sources of mistakes. These are the things that we are supposed to do. So say, for example, I am supposed to do these 3 things when I'm doing an onboarding with my client, or these are the 3 things our team are supposed to do when onboarding a client. The next type of source of a mistake is what we would call knowledge-based. So that is what people know. Let's say, for example, I get a new hire and we haven't given them a run through of every step of the process, we haven't had a discussion with them, we haven't given them a trial, then they might not know exactly how to do that. They might not do it. And then finally, we have the skill basis. So that could be where a person knows what to do, but they don't have the technical skill or the skill to be able to do that. So, for example, if I'm getting my team to help create a creative brief or to create some creative ideas, perhaps I've got someone new who just isn't skilled at generating the ideas, and the wrong ideas go out there and the client's not very happy with it. So think of those 3 different sources of mistakes. One last thing before we start to pull all of this together, and that is around contributing factors. And there are usually 4 types of contributing factors. That is, that there's people that are involved. This could be a leader like myself, it could be a team, it could be a colleague, it could be a client, it could be a supplier. It's important to understand whether or what people have been involved, because if you've got a recurring person that sort of seems to be involved in those things, then maybe that's where we need to put our attention. Next is around, I guess you could call it technical provisions. So this is around equipment, the technology, or the workplace. So let's say, for example, I found quite often when we work with some call centers or with customer service teams, where if they don't have a big enough screen or multiple screens where they can see things, they often can't see forms and they get lost or they make a mistake because they can't find the information that they need at the time, the workspace. Number 3 is around planning elements. And by this, it is what are the tasks, what are the priorities, and what are the timings. And that also then kind of relates to the last one, which is outside influences. This could be the time, could be the time of the day, could be the time of the week, time of the year. I know just as I'm starting to record this, we're going into the end of financial year here in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia. Maybe the outside elements is around the mood. People could be under pressure. It could be around the economy. It could be the climate. It could be even the physical weather, depending if it's an outdoor situation or an organization that's building things in construction or something like that. So there are 4 contributing factors that can help you to identify your sources. Were there people involved? Was it technical provisions? Was it a planning element and outside influences? Cool. Hopefully this is making sense. So what I've got here and what you'll be able to see on the screen now is a table that we use to help people make sense of these different things so that it doesn't happen again. So we've got the type of the 3 types of mistakes that we spoke about before. Is it a slip up? Is it a blackout or a real mistake? We then have the 4 columns of mistake sources. So you can list down in those areas, okay, it was a real mistake, check. Were there some skills involved that led to this mistake? Was it rule-based around the process was broken, or it was a process from 10 years ago, or was it something to do with knowledge? And then finally, we have those 4 contributing factors: people involved, technical provisions, planning elements, and outside influences. So thinking of these areas enables you to write down your notes and really work out exactly what's going on. It's kind of a bit spooky when you do it because it enables you to see what is going on. And by the way, I should really do a shout out to James Reason, who's an organizational psychologist, where a lot of this research comes from. And James Reason, professor, of course, I can't remember which university now, but spent a lifetime looking at aeroplane pilot mistakes and what caused them, because they've got control panels with hundreds and hundreds of buttons in there. So this will help you to identify what the source of the mistake is and make sure, hey, it's not going to happen ever again, which is awesome. Now, before we go on to the bonus, I want to share with you something you may have heard me talk about before. Again, my gift from me to you, which is an amazing ebook, I think so, that we wrote. My wife at least tells me about it. 40 Reasons Why You're Good Enough to Become a Sought-Out Creative Thinker at Work. Really easy to find this and to download for free. All you need to do is to go to ideamaverick.com/creative. The website address again, ideamaverick.com/creative. And you can have that amazing ebook in there. It shares some brilliant stuff in there that will help you to believe that you are creative, and don't buy into that myth that creativity is something that you're born with, either like blonde hair and blue eyes or not. Cool. All right. I promised in this bonus I was going to share some ways to help you identify where mistakes are most likely to happen, whether it's for yourself or your customers or for your team. And why this is really useful is that it almost kind of bypasses the need to decode a mistake, because it can work out where those mistakes are likely to happen. What also is amazing about this is it provides you with what we would call an insight as to where you can create an innovation or a massive product or business or process improvement. So I'm going to share with you a little image now that shows with you a table. And on this table, there are 6 components. We have intersections, stress points, and misunderstandings on this top row. Now, intersections. When you want to think about where are mistakes most likely to happen, I like to ask or prompt our clients, what are the biggest intersections that create friction? And those intersections that create friction for either ourselves, for you, for your team, or potentially for your customers, or it could be your customers' customers if you're doing B2B type work. And what I suggest you do is to grab a sheet of paper and just list as many intersections that you can think of that there is more than likely a trip up. It might be because it's a little bit, there's too much information coming from different areas, or it's something new, it's something fresh, but just to think of it as an intersection. Yep. Okay. Number 2 is around stress points. So what are the touch points that get under stress more than other ones? It might be because it's at a particular time of year. It might be because it's just when there's the biggest volume of people. It could be where it's the most data. I don't know what it's going to be specific to your business or to your organization, but just think about stress points. Next one, a really simple way to prompt yourself or other people is by asking yourself or your team, where are we most likely to have the biggest misunderstandings? So that might be when we're communicating what our product has, or misunderstandings when we ask our customers or consumers to do a particular activity, or it might be misunderstandings when we're asking our team to do something. Misunderstandings are a gold mine. If you can eliminate those misunderstandings, you'll find mistakes start to disappear. So that's the top row. Now let's move down to our middle row. We've got mistakes, complexity, and problems. So mistakes, we've already spoken about mistakes. So again, you think about those source areas. Is it a process? Is it a technical thing? Or is it a knowledge-based one and the sort like that? You could think about contributing factors. So where are mistakes already happening, and when do they happen? Complexity. This is a really important one. I think most people know their business, their products so well, which is fantastic, but we often then neglect to put ourselves in the shoes of a user. So what might be simple as pie for ourselves might be feel like PhD rocket science for someone else because they're just not there yet. So what areas do you think could be complex? And a good way I like to frame this up for people is, would a 7-year-old or an 87-year-old be able to understand what we're doing? And if not, maybe that area is complex, too complex, and we need to simplify it to eliminate potential mistakes. And then finally, we have pop-up problems. If a problem does occur, so it may not be a mistake, but if a problem pops up, where and when and how often may that problem pop up and occur? Cool. And finally, we've got the bottom row. We have assistance, objections, and frustrations. So assistance, when we have to provide assistance, where are we providing that assistance and how often and why and what do we need to do? That will reveal a stack of clues. Objections, where do we get the biggest objections? Whether it's from our customer, whether it's from our staff, whether it's from our organization, objections. And then finally, frustrations. What frustrates you? What frustrates your team members? What frustrates your customer? If there's frustrations, there's likely to be mistakes or something that we can improve to flip over from pain point into a pleasure point or a point of trust and sale and the sort like that. So that's it, my friends. Some simple bonus ways to help identify where mistakes are more than likely to happen for other people in the future and how to then get you thinking about generating ideas to solve them along the way. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked what you've been hearing today, please leave us a comment or like it, send it to someone else, or even give us a review. And most importantly, if you want me to share something that's important to you, if you've got some problems or challenges, reach out or find out a bit more about our mentoring. And most importantly, check out that free bonus, ideamaverick.com/creative. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.